Okay, what's up, everybody, and thanks for coming again to the Temple Podcast. My name is Eddie Pasquale, licensed massage therapist and martial artist, and I am here with Christina Furio to discuss her journey into the whole wellness world and industry. Christina works for a major coffee company, and she was my boss for a long time. And we met each other at an interesting time because she was just kind of sick and going through her complete and utter 180 transformation. So how you doing? How's it going today?
I'm doing good. Thank you so much for having me. I'm drinking my coffee, obviously.
Me too.
Yep. Yeah. I'm feeling pretty good today. So I'm just excited to share my story with you and your listeners.
My listeners, they're on their way. They're on their way. They haven't found out they're my listeners yet, but they're
okay.
Once they figure out that they're my listeners, they're going to be very happy that you're on.
Ask, believe, and receive. They're just going to wake up and be like, that Ed Pasquale guy.
What's this show he's doing? So yes, I was just about, I was already training, obviously. I was well into that, but I was really turning myself around as far as diet and health and cutting sugar and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I remember when we had started working together, you were not feeling very well and had started how did it start? Let's go back even further. So like when you were a kid, when you were younger,
yep.
did you care at all about what you ate, diet, exercise, anything like that? Or is that just not in your wheelhouse?
So when I was a kid, diet wasn't really like a major forte in my household. I think that I always had a really great metabolism, first of all. And thankfully, my favorite thing to eat is fruit. However, my family is Polish and German, and their diet is very meat, potatoes, noodles, fatty stuff. I mean, my dad would literally eat what they would call speck, which is just straight up fat. And he would just put it on bread with paprika. That's literally what he would eat. So diet affecting your health was never a concept in my family's household. I never really exercised. Thankfully, I really liked dance. So I was on kickline in high school. I did dance for years on end. So that was my form of exercise. However, once I left high school and now it was okay, we're moving into adult world and college where those things aren't readily available and, you're kind of feeding yourself now. It definitely became a lot more difficult. I mean, even to this day still, I still struggle with exercise per se. I do it, but it's not a thing that I always do, for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. It always depends on your goals too. You know what I mean? People are oh, I can't start. These people are crazy. Or they go to the gym and they see people like me who are in there for 2-3 hours at a time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they're that's nuts. I'm never doing that. And it's no, just get up and go for a walk. That's all you have to do. Just get up and go
exactly.
for a walk.
If I can take the dog for a walk, or I can do a 20-minute at home YouTube yoga session, I'm good for today,
How is Holly? She recently lost her sight, right?
Yes, she's okay. So Holly is 11 this year, and it actually started in February. So we went away on a cruise, and we had noticed before that she was having trouble going up some stairs and stuff, but I just thought that was kind of some joint pain. Unfortunately, it meant that her cataracts were forming in, and they have actually taken pretty much most of her sight. So she is now blind. She is navigating really well with it, actually. She uses all the rest of her senses to kind of figure everything else out. And she circles the same paths a lot. So I think she uses her scent to kind of help her navigate. She still bumps into stuff every once in a while. And sometimes it's funny and sometimes it's not funny, but most of the time it's funny. But she's doing good otherwise. Thank you.
I had a kid. I never had a kid. I have no kids. When I was a kid, I had a friend growing up that had a blind long-haired dachshund. So it was like it was white too, like white and brown. So remember Falcor from Neverending Story?
Yeah.
It was like a tiny Falcor, like just scooting across the ground, trying to navigate with its nose. It was the happiest little dog, though. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like us where a human is going to walk around and be like, I'm blind now. I'll never appreciate Starry Night again. You know what I mean? Like, no, they don't think that. They're just like, oh, can I find the food? I'm good. You know, where's my owner? You're here.
Exactly.
Okay, I can lay on your lap. I'm happy. You know?
Yep. Still wagging the tail for sure.
Oh yeah, it's a real lesson in acceptance. Animals are a huge lesson in acceptance. They don't take the time to like sit and be sad and bitched about the things that are happening like we do. You know, they don't waste that time. They just immediately figure out the next course of action that they can take. So you never had really any concerns, and now I know it was you. You and your husband were living in a house that had mold.
So I think that kind of helps.
Your story.
There's a lot of different factors that I've been learning kind of like all came together at the same time that basically caused like an A-bomb to go off inside.
Right.
So I never had any food allergies. The only allergy I had was literally like pollen and sometimes cat hair if I just like itched my eye. Like never had anything else, not peanuts, not gluten, not dairy, not nothing. So, what ended up happening was we were getting married and I started to cut out certain things from my diet to start losing weight for the wedding. And I didn't do like your standard, like I'm going to eat salad every day diet. Like I was like, okay, I'm noticing that dairy and sugar are what's causing me to gain the most weight. So that's what I'm going to cut out. So like when I have my coffee, I'll drink it with soy and I won't have like, you know, your strawberry acai from your local coffee shop or like put like 100 pumps of vanilla in, right?
Right.
So I cut all that out and I started drinking soy for like 2 months straight. I hadn't had dairy like past that. I mean, I had cheese here and there, but I never actually had like milk products.
So now before this point, had you noticed any changes, anything going on, anything wrong in your health or how you felt?
I do remember thinking, so we had moved in together and he was living in his grandma's basement. The house, she lived in it for like 45 years. It was like, she built that house and continued living in it. So think about like a 45-year-old house. They don't have, you know, there was black mold in the shower that like was behind me encasing and stuff like that. So I was breathing that in. And then I did notice that like when I was eating, I was like, okay, maybe I'm not making meals or like I'm snacking too much and it's starting to affect me because I would start to notice that like I was bloated a lot. I gained like 20 pounds out of nowhere. And for me, like from high school all the way up until that point, which was like a good 10 years or more, I was always like around 120 pounds, give or take. Like literally always. I never gained like that much weight in such a small period of time. So that's what kind of like spurred me to go into this weight loss because I was like, okay, well maybe it's like the weight gain, like that, I was not really putting two and two together.
A side note, people that are listening, a lot of times when stuff like that happens, it's a sign that there's dysbiosis starting in the gut. It's a sign that there's issues happening in your intestines or in your stomach, in your gut biome that are causing you to not process certain foods the same way that you would when you were younger. You know, when everything is just like, when your body has the faculties to be like, that's an issue, and then do away with it and get rid of it and heal from the damages you're constantly putting in. That same way that they say like the gluten problems and the gluten intolerance, it starts with the gluten protein making small incisions in your intestines on the way down. So as that happens, you get irritation. As that irritation happens and the gaps get bigger, you get leaky gut. You start leaking nutrients and things stop functioning properly. And then what everybody says, because you're a couple years younger than me, so I think you were 24, 25 when it starts happening. And what ends up happening is people often say like, I'm just getting older. This is
Yeah.
what 30 is going to look like. This is me approaching my 30s. This is just what's happening. And really, that's not the case. Oftentimes, you don't realize how much pollutants we're fighting against to begin with. So then when you have a situation like, not necessarily poor diet, but a misinformed diet, on top of a situation like a 45-year-old house with mold that's undressed, and that piles on. And then you have life stress on top of it, which is also detrimental to your health, you know? So,
Yeah.
And then you discovered that you had gained some weight and.
Yeah. And on top of it too, like, I was just like, what the hell is going on with me? Because I was also like, I look back on it, I wouldn't say that you could like diagnose it, but like I had some form of depression because I would go to work, I would come home, I would lay in bed, and if it was like my day off, I did not get out. Like I was
playing games.
I was, but it actually even got to the point where like I didn't even play games anymore. Like I was just sleeping and watching TV, and I was like, there's something wrong. Like I'm not even enjoying like playing video games on my time off anymore. Like there's
and that's like
wrong.
your thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was like, there's really something wrong. So I got to start making some changes. So what really kind of slapped me in the face, unfortunately, it was the day I was returning from my bachelorette party, and we went out to brunch before we went on the flight, and I got a latte, and the latte was, I assume, made with whole milk. And while we're at the restaurant, I'm like, oh, like I kind of feel like a little weird. Like I got to go to the bathroom. Right. So, I go to the bathroom. You can imagine what happened.
Yeah.
And
we'll call them like, stomach problems.
Yes. Stomach problems.
And that'll be the umbrella term for.
Yes.
Yes.
And so, but that was just the beginning. So for the next 3 hours before my flight home, I hit every bathroom that airport could provide me. I mean, it was like the most miserable experience I've ever had. Like literally I went to the bathroom before security check-in, went through security check-in, and then immediately ran to the next bathroom. Like I didn't think I was going to make it. So
it's as if you took a break and then your body was like, this is bad for me. I'm not having this.
But I didn't even put two and two. I'm like, I must have food poisoning, right?
Right.
So the more and more that I started to realize, like, oh, I took a break from dairy and now my body doesn't want it anymore. So ever since then, I've been dairy free. So what? This is now like 3 years I've been dairy free because
time is insane.
Yeah. Like, and think about it. Like you and I worked together and you watched me have half and half in everything. And then, I've been working for this company for 13 years. I've had half and half in almost every drink for 10 out of the 13 years.
And all of a sudden, try not to use the phrases, but like, try not to use the actual terminology, but like the blended beverages are made with whole milk. And we love those.
Yeah.
That was like my cheat. And you would have always trying them or making them to sample out, having them to customers.
Yep. So, okay, great. I figure out that dairy is a big no-no. Yeah. And I struggled a lot with that because I like mac and cheese. I like mac and cheese a lot. I was a big Kraft mac and cheese person. Like, that's all I knew how to make when I first met my husband and we moved in together. Like, he always used to make fun of me because I literally could only make box mac and cheese. So, trying to figure out,
Side story that you'll like. So, when Jen and I first started dating and then quarantine hit, I didn't anticipate that I would be like staying here as long as I was, but she was like, yeah, fuck it, whatever, like just stay here for a couple of weeks. And that was how it started. I was like, okay, let me go over her family. So I made gnocchi and chicken cacciatore for everybody and a huge
my God.
And I made this big guinea Italian spread and was just like, yeah, I can cook, can I stay?
Yeah, exactly. I can provide something.
And then the way you were like with mac and cheese, Jen was like, make sauce and peppers. you know. And she talked about it for a while, but just like let me cook for a week or two. Like I guess like just test my boundaries and my limits. I made a whole bunch of different stuff. Yeah. And I love cooking. I was thinking about like starting to make cooking videos, but
my God, I would love that.
I love to cook. But yeah, she actually makes a really, really good sausage and pepper. Like I was half, but when she didn't make it for a while, I was half kind of like, I don't know if she really can, you know. And then she made it, and I was like, wow, okay. And I ate the whole thing. It was really good. But so anyway, yes, you love mac and cheese. I mean, who doesn't love mac and cheese?
I know. I'm still working on a dairy-free perfected mac and cheese. I'm still working on it.
Does not happen.
I know. I'm working on it though. But anyway, so okay, I'm navigating working around dairy-free. Okay, great. We have plenty of like dairy-free milks at where I work. They kind of suck, but I'm figuring it out. I'm getting there. But I was still having a lot of problems. And this is where like you came into the picture, because I think I kind of already like got rid of dairy before you came into the picture. But I was still having like so many issues, and like you would come in and
because you were getting married when I started working. You weren't married.
Okay.
I don't even remember your old last name. Too long.
It's too confusing anyway. Fine.
Yeah, mine's not great anyway. Mine's not great either. But Pasquale, you know, it doesn't even sound good coming off the tongue. Pasquale. It's like, oh, come on, what are we doing over here? But yeah, you weren't married yet when I started working there. And I remember Cass had made that awesome SpongeBob "We'll Miss You" when you get back thing. So it was great. I can't believe like it was like a spot on SpongeBob and Patrick.
Yep.
But so where was I? Yes. So you weren't married yet. Cass had made the thing, and you were leaving for your honeymoon. And I remember you telling me about the story when you had come back.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember all of this happening as you're saying it. So I was there for that, but I think I just kind of kept my mouth shut about my opinions on stuff until you started voicing how you were feeling.
Yeah. And I remember like watching you would like come in every morning with like a bottle of kombucha. I'd be like, how do you drink that stuff? Like, ugh. And now I literally like, I survive. Like if I don't have a bottle a day, I'm fucked.
Yeah. The probiotic. Are you taking a probiotic?
So I was taking like just like a probiotic chewable tablet. So now what I do, my routine every day now is in my coffee, I do MCT oil and a scoop of a prebiotic.
On it, MCT oil, I really like. On it, sponsor me. I'm just what? Anyway.
So I do MCT oil, and then I also do inulin powder, which is a prebiotic.
Can you spell that?
Inulin, INULIN.
Okay, I put you on the spot there. I'm sorry. So it's kind of like inulin powder. I've never actually heard of that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So we'll get into how I figured like out where to get that from, but basically, this powder is supposed to pass through your stomach and not be broken down, and it gets broken down in your intestine so that it helps reline the wall of your intestine.
Very cool. Very cool. And this is like an MCT powder kind of thing, kind of like
a so I do I have it two separate ones. So the oil and then the powder, and the powder actually has a little bit of sweetness to it. So when you mix it in, like it really doesn't have too much taste. It just has a little bit of sweetness in it. So like you could actually even mix it in like with your coffee as your sweetener if you don't like a lot of sugar. And it works perfectly fine. So I do that. Yeah, I do that. And then I drink my 1 bottle of kombucha every day, and that's my probiotic. Excuse me. And then I do like a super greens powder that I mix in with water and some lemon juice. And that's like my supplements for the day. So I literally do this like
take my greens.
Yes, I do this like every day now.
It's good to have a routine. I myself am an insane person and spend a lot of time on my money on my crazy routine. And I think, you know, like that's my investment. I don't want to be, you know, I think we both come from families that aren't the healthiest, you know. And I watched my grandfather die. I watched my grandmother be bedridden for most of her life, and I don't want to end up like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's 100% preventable. And you know, I love sharing stories like yours because it's very much so a story of somebody who took the initiative to figure it out for themselves, figure it out on their own, and was humble enough to admit that they were wrong about their previous conceptions about what nutrition is, what it means to live in your body, what it means to chase a healthier life, and what that can do for you mentally as well. Because we had started this with depression, and it's funny because depression and anxiety has kind of become a theme of season 1 of this podcast, because I felt called to do an episode to talk about my own bout with a depressive blow the past couple of months, as I had taken a break from making episodes, using my voice, and then the interview that comes out on we're recording this interview a week and a half before it gets released. So the interview I recorded the other day, we got into that with another massage therapist and how his journey led, much like mine, into back and forth. Well, not for him back and forth, but you know, I won't ruin it. But substances, depression, how that led to life being a healer, not even just healing themselves. And you know, I really wanted to share your story because I love that you have taken your experiences and what you have done and turned that into your Instagram and YouTube to kind of just put on a pedestal the things that you love, that you identify with your personality, to make you feel good about you. And then the health and everything is like the engine behind that, which is exactly how it should be. People are out here yelling at everybody, being like, you need to be healthy, you need to take these supplements, you need to do this thing. Why aren't you doing this? And using that same like media way, you know, the way the media makes you feel guilty, they like guilt you into buying shit. You know what I mean? Like your mom guilts you into coming over for dinner, and the media guilts you into buying stuff. They make you feel like you're a better person. Not that you're a bad person if you don't, or you're not so much that like you're wrong or immoral, but that you could be a better person, and the version of you now is shit, and you need to improve upon it. And in order to do that, you have to do my juice cleanse, you have to be ripped, you have to have an 8-pack, you have to have a side hustle, you gotta be working, grinding all the time, you know. And it's like people don't take the time like to appreciate, like, you have a video game YouTube, you know what I mean? Like, and you're playing games from our childhood that rule, like Majora's Mask, you know? What's the name of the YouTube channel, by the way?
So my gaming YouTube channel is Lady Game Ga. So think of like Lady Gaga, but Game Ga. So Lady Game, Gamega, Lady Game Ga. So that's my gaming YouTube channel. So check that out. I play everything from up to date to retro. And then my Instagram for my health and wellness is Christina's Beauty and Wellness. So it's like a multifaceted Instagram where I like fashion, I like, you know, the beauty community, but I also really wanted to, like you said, take my Instagram and form it into a way where I could share what's been helping me heal, and like without having that shaming push to be like, take my supplements, take my juice cleanse. Like that's not what I'm going for. It's more just like, hey, I've been taking these supplements and they work. If you want to try them, you know, here you go. Oh, I actually ended up like having a discount code for it. Here you go. Like, but it's never anything that's going to force you to do anything. And it's more about sharing.
Right.
Because I understand, like, I always feel very weird when people are like standing and they're like, look at my amazing life now that I've had this juice cleanse. And like, the juice cleanse doesn't fix everything. It's like 30 different things that help you fix the one thing. Like,
right. Or you have people like someone that we both know who is just taking pictures in front of the garage trying to make their life look fantastic, but really they're falling apart on the inside. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's this false. It's this. A lot of these Instagram pages are this false portrayal of what's really going on. You know, it's this veneer, this clear coat over their life to try to just highlight and get popular and get attention. And it's really just about attention instead of actually being honest and being real. You know what I mean? For as many pictures you put up that you have an outfit on or that you're doing something like that because you got this new confidence, XYZ, there's no makeup and there's, you know what I mean? And there's this didn't work and I tried this. I'm trying this. I have no idea how it's going to turn out. Come take the journey with me, you know? And I really enjoy that. I like that. I see your channel. I'm like, damn, I need to do more than just lift weights on my shit. You know what I mean? But that's the only time I can set up a tripod. I'm always busy doing something. But so to continue with your story, I just wanted to really get your plugs out there. We didn't do it in the beginning, and I wanted to make sure that like people are still listening at this point, and then can, like kind of listen and then type into their phone. The Instagram is Christina's Beauty and Wellness with underscores between each letter, right? Yeah. Is there an underscore at the end?
I don't think so. No.
No. Well, if you don't find her, she's got purple hair.
Then
If you're listening and not watching, she's got purple hair. So for everybody listening, quick plug in the middle. This is going to be available on YouTube and on audio. So please, of course, the holy grail of podcasts is Apple. So if you are an iPhone user and Apple user, please subscribe. Give me 5 stars. Leave a review if you like 5 stars. You know what I mean? It's up to you. Use your opinion. But 5 stars and a review, preferably a good one, on Apple. Spotify, please follow. Anchor.fm is the host of the podcast. They are the service that I use to add background music to the audio recordings and to post all the recordings. They post to all platforms for me. Super simple to use, very easy. If you're looking to start your own podcast, and if you're looking for in-home massage, hit me up. My Instagram is @TempleLMT. My other Instagram is @Temple_Wellness_. That's business. And now that we've done like the middle plug, let's get back into your story. So where we were at before we talked about your stuff, what you have out there for people to go look at right now, go look at her stuff right now. On another page, leave this playing. So where we were is you were discovering that you had some health issues. You had stopped milk for a while because you had suddenly gained weight and were getting married and wanted to look good in your wedding dress like most people do. And it was those reasons were why you had cut certain things out of your diet, the main two being dairy and added sugar. And then after that, you had accidentally ordered a latte with whole milk or received a latte with whole milk by accident, knew it, figured it wouldn't be a problem, drank it anyway, and then had some serious stomach issues for the rest of the day, leaving your bachelorette party, which sounds like, I mean, you probably expect to be hungover, you know?
But I wasn't. That was the thing.
Yeah.
Like, and that's where like all the girls that were with me, we were like, wait, but like you weren't even hungover. Like, what's going on? Like, it was a very strange experience. So moving on from that, okay, I discovered I can't really do dairy anymore. And then I was still having a lot of stomach issues, so much so that I remember coming to you and I was like, I don't mean to bother you, but I know you're very much into wellness and you like understand these things, but like, I'm having these problems. What do you recommend? And like, I remember you were like, okay, well, like you can think about like massage and like acupuncture and like, here's different points that like you can do on your, like, okay, literally still to this day, like different massage points that you've showed me, like either for digestion or even like right here when it came to like headaches, like here and like all the different points, I still use that stuff to this day. I'm literally like every time
it works so well. People don't realize how well it works. That's why I did this, because that's why I'm doing this whole show. Like, if this picks up popularity and we can hear regular people talking about their experiences, and we can circumvent the down with the system. You know what I mean? We can circumvent the powers that are in play that prevent people from getting their word out there, prevents real things that work. You know, I'm not going to really mention. I don't want people to tune out. But there's a lot of controversy around certain medications right now. I'm not going to get too into it, but there's a lot of controversy around certain medications right now. And it's financial as to why we don't use the cheaper option that works over the course of a couple of weeks, as opposed to going for a more expensive, more profitable thing for people, for the top 1% of people that own all these corporations and these companies. It's a ridiculous situation that we live in, where you have to go through something like that instead of your health insurance covering the doctor that you then went to see. Yeah. Right? Yeah. So well, I'm sorry, I'm Tarantinoing your story, but
no, it's funny that you mentioned that, because during that time I went to go see a regular family practice doctor. I went to go see a gastroenterologist 2 separate times. I got an upper endoscopy done because I really just had like absolutely no idea what was going on. And then eventually, if you remember, I admitted myself to the hospital because I was like, I would literally have like, you know, I would have like bread and like with toast with butter on it, like the most plain Jane thing that like everybody teaches you to have when you have an upset stomach.
Yeah, that's the grandma food. Oh, you have some toast with jelly.
Pastina, have some pastina.
Yeah, pastina, exactly. Oh, your stomach doesn't feel good? Have some pastina, which is basically a bowl of bread. It just small pieces of heavy bread. That's all.
Yep.
Unrisen
I woke
dough.
up one morning, had toast with butter on it, like the most simple thing you could think of. I didn't even have coffee. I just had water. And I mean, the stomach issues, like I was like, I'm supposed to go to work tonight, but like, I can't even function. I can't even get out of the bathroom. Like, I mean, I was hugging the bowl. Like, that's how bad it was. And I admitted myself to the hospital. And the most miserable experience about it was I got there. I waited in the waiting room for 4 hours. They finally admitted me, stuck me with an IV to hydrate me, and then released me an hour later and said, "You probably just had a stomach virus." I'm like, "Excuse me?" They're like, "Yeah, we're going to release you. You probably just had a stomach virus. We don't see anything wrong." And I'm like,
do you love that?
But I'm like, dude, this has been going on for a year. How is this a year-long stomach virus? And like, certain things were certain colors that I'm not going to get specific about, but they were not normal colors.
Problems.
Yes. And, you know, I went home that day and I'm like, I need to change something. And the bills that I got, like for the upper endoscopy with the anesthesia and then the hospital bill, I was like, I'm going to go broke if I keep doing this. Like, I need to figure out right now what's going on. So as I'm being discharged, actually, the nurse said to me, the nurse at the hospital, "Have you ever thought of holistic healing?" And I was like, "No, actually I haven't." She's like, "Well, you look really upset." And I was like, "Yeah, because they told me that nothing's wrong and there's clearly something wrong." She's like, "Go see a holistic doctor. That might work for you." So I went to work either like the next day or the day after, and I went to you and I was like, "Yeah, so I'm thinking about going to a holistic doctor. Do you know about anything?" And I remember like you were very much like, "Okay, like let me educate you, like let me get you in on all of this." And eventually I went to an acupuncturist and I started doing that. And then I found my holistic doctor who, I mean, that man changed my life, because I went to him totally skeptical. I was like, if this man doesn't listen to me and doesn't give me a plan, I'm walking out of there and I'm never going back.
Would you mind sharing? Because it wasn't in your insurance plan to go to him, right? So now you have.
Actually, it was.
It was. Oh, very cool. That's really cool.
I think they're considered a specialist, so I did have to pay like the specialist copay, but was in the plan.
That's pretty cool. God. That's very, very cool. That's good news. That's good news. You know, if we are living in this society where things are so unbelievably unaffordable, we have to have health insurance or some kind of healthcare plan to assist us, that we pay into to assist us with the bills. At least that's covered. You know, it's like, it's a real fight. Like, I don't take insurance with massage because it's really hairy. You know what I mean? It's
I've heard
really,
that.
really hairy. And then they come after you, and then you don't get your money for months at a time. And it's, you know, it's a lot. If I had a brick structure, and I had a bunch of employees, and I had, you know, a steady flow of money like that, maybe I would consider it. But even then, I know lots of very popular places that don't do it because it ends up costing you money because you're waiting for your money for so long.
Right. Yeah.
You know?
Well, and fun fact is, I've actually spent less money at my holistic doctor in total than I did for regular Western medicine because, like the bills that came out of the hospital and the upper endoscopy and everybody else, like, so I go to this holistic
you wonder where
doctor.
they're getting the numbers from. It's like $4,000 for an endoscopy or something like that.
Ridiculous.
Yeah. And that's with insurance. That's what you have to pay. Yeah.
Exactly. So I go to this holistic doctor, and it's my first appointment, and it's a consultation, and it's like literally I get like an hour-long consultation. I'm like, oh yeah, okay, great. So I go with 3 pages of notes, and I literally sat down and I was like, I took notes. I'm going to read all of them to you. And he was like, okay, go ahead and read them.
Oh, that is so you.
Was so sick. I know, it is very me. But I was so sick.
I'm picturing when you were training me to be a manager, and like you had like every binder out and the thing up on the computer, and I've got the laptop open, and you're like, and here is the thing, you know?
Yeah. But I was so sick of being invalidated that like what was going on with me was just, are you sure you're not just stressed? Like, shut up. Like, you know what I mean? Like if I heard that one more time, I was going to actually stab someone. So I was like, I'm going to read all these notes and, you know, then we'll go from there. So he's like, okay, great. Read all those notes, and literally sat there like patiently waiting for me to read all of them. So long story short, after reading those notes, the doctor literally said, okay, so here's what we're going to do. And I was like, he's forming a plan. I'm so excited. So he's like, you know, we're going to take you off of this. We're going to have you start doing this. And, you know, I don't take any medication. I never really have. The only thing I was on at the time was birth control. There's varying different birth controls that you can be on, and there's different things that like they can do for you. Basically, the birth control that I was on is another one of those factors that came together to create the giant bomb that exploded. So I'm actually off birth control now entirely.
Yeah, I don't think anybody should be on birth control. I like that's like, it's anything that messes with your hormones. I mean, I understand if you have a identity or a lifestyle issue in which you need to take some kind of hormone in order to be who you are. I get that. But if you are not in that demographic and you are comfortable in your own, you know, comfortable in the skin that you were born in, I don't know if I'm wording that correctly. I'm sure someone's going to try to stab me for anything I said. But, you know, you shouldn't take any kind of thing that's going to mess with your hormones. Yeah, I know somebody who took birth control and can never have children because of it. Because it triggered something in her, you know, and she's a pastor's wife, you know, like it's very, very sad. They're really, they were like really looking so forward to starting this family that, but you know, they get to adopt, you know, they get to adopt, which is like, I'm sure that's a blessing in disguise. So who knows what is meant to be, but at the same time, you do have the very physical issue of birth control triggered an underlying issue that they weren't aware of. And in that giant pamphlet of shit in the bottle or in the packet or whatever, in there is all the legal protection they need from anything that could ever happen to you.
Yep. Yeah. So, honestly, I was really just doing it for convenience at the time. And, I was nervous. I was very much like, oh God, like, I don't know if I want to give this up. And he was like, well, that's up to you, but like, it's going to help. So that night I threw it in the trash. I haven't been back. Just from doing that, staying away from dairy. And then we've also determined that gluten is a problem for me. And blood tests have not shown that I have an actual gluten allergy. I don't have celiac disease, but if I eat a croissant, I will be like dry heaving in the garbage can 20 minutes later. So I'm now away from gluten. I'm away from dairy. I've gotten rid of the birth control. Ed, I feel better now at 29 than I did when I was 25. Like, I feel like a whole new human being because
someone cue Aladdin.
Yeah, right.
Oh no, yeah.
But really, I mean, because now my focus has shifted from just being like, woo, I'm gonna like eat whatever and like you can't tell me differently, to being like, let me intentionally decide what I'm gonna put in my body and how that's going to affect me. So like everything I eat now is intentional. Everything that I drink, everything that I like, what I shower with, my deodorant, my hair care products, like I've completely shifted the way that I think about what goes in and around this. And I can't tell you the difference that it's made. And like, I try so hard not to be one of those people that when someone's like, yeah, I'm having stomach issues today, I'm like, have you tried kombucha? Like, I try not to be like that person.
I feel very attacked right now. I'm like that shitty person that's like, whoa, have you tried this? You know, it's like, thanks, asshole. That's not going to help me right now, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
When you came off of birth control, was there like was there like a period in time where you had to adjust? Was there like a couple of weeks of feeling kind of like crap as you adjusted?
So the doctor did say it would take 3 full cycles to be entirely rid of the birth control.
And this
so
is 3 full menstrual cycles you're talking about,
yes.
right?
So the one that I was taking was NuvaRing. So that is the one where it basically looks like a hair tie like this. Where it's considered like a foreign being in your body. So the logistics around it is that like, okay, if I took a pill birth control, I might have not necessarily seen the issues that I was having completely. But, you know, obviously it's still doing stuff to your body. But because you had a foreign being, your body is always in attack mode. So it caused a lot of inflammation. So it was kind of like a tidal wave where it's like it starts, and then like all of a sudden, and then it crashes, and then that's where your big problems were. So now we remove that, but the hormones are still in your body for like 3 full menstrual cycles. I would say for women, like if you do remove your birth control, you do see a difference in like your menstrual cycle on birth control versus not on birth control. It is different, but your overall mood, your overall, I mean, I don't want to get too in depth here, but basically your mood changes entirely. I mean, my depressive states completely just vanished. I have way more energy. Your sex life actually gets better. Let's just say that. And I will never go back. I literally will never go back.
Yeah. It's important to talk about. It's human. That's, you know, that's a huge part of who we are and what we are is, you know, our sexual identity and our sex lives. It's, you know, like talking about that is super, super important, and how that's also very much so improves as your hormones level out and as everything gets better for men and women, you know, men and women. It gets not just with birth control, but just with being healthier in general.
Yeah. I mean, just even like put yourself in the scenario of you're having stomach issues every single day and you're in these depressive states. Are you really going to be in the mood to like, be like, hey hubby, like how you do? Like, no, you're going to be like, I feel disgusting. Please stay away from me. You know?
Especially in a marriage or committed relationship, because then you have a responsibility to this person, and that is kind of part of that. Well, not kind of, but that's part of that agreement that you have. That's part of the contract that you sign in a relationship. That part of yourself is then now committed to that person. Right. You know? So it's like, where's your end of the bargain, especially if you feel like crap all the time, and then they're taking care of you, and then it's an uneven keel, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, they're always, you know, then it becomes, they're always kind of like wiping up after you. I mean, I don't know if I ever told you about the similar issue that I had a few years ago. I was with somebody else. I was in and out of the hospital for a couple of months with gastroenteritis. I think we have discussed this. And it was very similar to your story, where it's like, you know, what did I do? Oh, I turned an entire loaf of bread into toast, and that was all I could stomach for that day. But I only ate like half a piece every 6 hours, because every time I would eat it, I would feel sick again. And then I had this thought like, oh, anything I put into my system is going to make me sick. But that's not the case. It's because I'm just compounding the issue. It's like rubbing your cuts with Brillo.
Yeah, basically.
You know, let me, I have this big gash. Let me try to clean this out with a Brillo pad and hope it feels better. And then you're like Gladiator with the maggots in your giant, you know, in your giant gash in your arm, packing bugs. You know, you got your friend chewing bugs and packing them into your cut. It's like, that's not where we need to live. That's kind of what you're doing to your gut too, when you take these old school, old wives kind of way of doing things, you know? Mm-hmm. There's some of those old practices that work, and there's some that are just like convenient leftover shit from the 50s when everybody was drinking Wonder Bread and, you know, eating Wonder Bread and drinking Coca-Cola 100% of the time, thinking that they were living life. You know what I mean? Wonder Bread, it's good for you. It's got calcium. You know what I mean? Like, you know? So, so then now you've kind of leveled out, and you're back on track. You're off birth control for a couple of months at this point. So what's happening now? What's happening at the point where you're like a couple months off and you've hit those cycles are complete? What's going on now with your with the health?
So now, I mean, like, menstrual cycles are just like another thing. Like, do I miss that, like, they only lasted like 2 days and then I could like move on with my life? Or like, if I wanted to be on vacation, like I could technically like skip it for a while. Like, sure, for the convenience factor, like I do miss that. But like the way that I feel now, it doesn't even compare. Like I could literally just I never want to go back. And then food wise, it's funny because my husband started to have some problems, and he saw the change in me in some of the dietary changes that I've made. Now, I don't think he's Italian, so like gluten-free pasta. Oh, there we go. Okay.
It's okay.
Gluten-free pasta.
Sacrilege. I know.
Yes. However, I found some, and he literally said verbatim, "This is the only gluten-free pasta I think I can eat."
What's the brand? Just for people who.
I think it's called. I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but it's Nature Organics, like nature, but it's NATURAE, and then
Nature,
exactly. Nature Organics.
Really cheap joke.
You can find it in the gluten-free aisle in your supermarket. Like I go to ShopRite, but it's specifically in the gluten-free aisle. It's not in the pasta aisle. But it
ShopRite
literally
has that whole gluten-free section, right?
Yes, they do. I love them for it. So I mean, we find this great compromise now where like we're eating the same meals. Every once in a while I have to make like my own little side thing to make sure it's like gluten or dairy free, but we're able to like eat the same meals. It was a struggle for a while, but overall we're healthier. He drinks kombucha every day now.
But now notice, so here's another thing. Here's a side note, right? So story time. Steve has a woodworking company that he's promoting, right?
Yep.
So look at the mental real estate that clears up and the innovation that can be achieved by your mind when it's not, when your body is no longer bogged down.
100%. I would have never been able to accomplish all these different things without that.
Yeah,
you're absolutely
100%.
Right.
It's like, you know, Rogan talks all the time about mental real estate. And I love him for that. You know, like it's such it's such a cool way to kind of think about your bandwidth. You know what I mean? because we talk about our brains as these supercomputers all the time, and I feel like it's hard for people to understand because computers are like this enigma that no one knows how they work, you know? Like computer scientists are like, well, this is how it works. And then you're like, you're crazy. You know, it's like people who know all the super in-depths of chemistry and all that stuff. It's a very intricate, in-depth science that I don't get. So when you tell me my brain's like a supercomputer, you're telling me my brain is this concept that I don't understand. But when you talk about it as real estate, it becomes something that I can very much visualize. You know what I mean? So if I've got all this real estate and I'm trying to construct all of this stuff and have it work together on this plot of land, you know what I mean? How much of that real estate am I going to take up with bullshit? How much of that real estate is going to be like the car that has grass overgrown in it in the backyard, and the shed that no one's been in 18 years and has a bunch of cobwebs, or like just nonsense running through. So if you're occupying this limited amount of space that your brain has to process information with bogus, or your brain, you are your central nervous system, your brain and your spinal cord, that's what you really are. That's the thing that's driving this flesh car that we're in, this flesh vehicle. And when your processes are bogged down with taking care of the issues in your body, that's when you start to get depressed. That's when you start to have trouble dealing with certain certain issues in your life. You're more irritable. You have a harder time overcoming mental barriers and emotional barriers as well. I feel like it's much more difficult to process your emotions and certain traumas that have happened in your life. And then when you just kind of, for me, it led to me just kind of like sitting and watching life happen. And I wasn't really a part of it, and very, very self-conscious. And I think that the self-conscious isn't so much like if you're unhealthy, you're self-conscious. It's more like that's how it manifested in me.
Right.
You know what I
mean? And then
like
it's almost like every day you needed a mental health day. You're like, I'll do it tomorrow. I need a mental health day today. But that was like every day.
Right. It's like, no, just do the thing. The whole episode I just posted, I say just do the thing like 4 or 5 times. I kind of like want to get it made into a shirt. Like if it becomes a thing, like if everybody just comments on all my shit, just do the thing, I'll get shirts made. You know what I mean?
So the second that we hang up, I'll go ahead and do that on all my Instagram accounts.
Just do the thing. Yeah, hashtag just do the thing. That's what I'll do. Hashtag just do the thing.
Okay.
Anyway, so where were we? Steve, you and Steve are able to share meals together, and you're figuring out a way to make this work. And that's important to talk about too. So like, as you were doing this journey, you're not like me. I'm, single and living with my mom, and like, Mom, I need you to pick up gluten-free pasta, Ma. Like I'm like the dude from the remember Jaeger bombs? Remember that video? It's like, Mom, where's the fucking protein, Mom? Get my HGH. Walking in with the case of water to the gym, not now she's in the fucking zone. Like that, like I get to live my life like that, but here you are. I was always super impressed by it. I'm like, shit, she's like 3 years younger than me. She's got her shit together. You know what I mean? General manager of a major coffee company, and like married with, with like her perfect person, and like doing her thing. I was always very impressed with how together your shit was for your age.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Except my health.
But now there's that as well. So you got all your chips like kind of fell where they needed to fall. Or you kind of like arranged them to fall where they needed to fall, now, so I feel like a lot of people, the reason I'm going to segue into what I'm trying to segue into is I feel like a lot of people make excuses for themselves or use their partner as an excuse. And we don't talk enough about how to maintain and make these things happen when you're in a relationship, and how to do it in a healthy way. Because the social norm, and I was very much like this for the longest time, the social norm is to be like, fuck them. If they're not going to work with your lifestyle, get rid of them and move on, because you'll always find somebody better. If you've made one error or mistake, it is grounds for dismissal, and it is time for you to find a new partner. This person no longer matters because your paths are not, you're just growing apart. As if you are this shining star in the center of the universe. And this comes from that, in my personal opinion, it comes from that like everybody gets a gold star, everybody gets a trophy, you're all a winner. We're playing soccer, but nobody's fucking keeping score. You know, you don't get to lose the game and figure out what that feels like. You know what I mean? That's where this comes from. You're so special that you can just abuse anybody that's in your life because they no longer agree with you, because you're always growing and changing. So now, as you're growing and changing and becoming healthier, you have to find a healthy way and a feasible way to make that happen in the cohesive unit of your family. So how did that work for you as you were starting to change and drink kombucha every day and spend a lot of, and not only that, but you're talking about a financial commitment, you know what I mean? A huge financial commitment to your health. That in relationships, I'm sure when you're also trying to pay the bills, you guys are trying to buy a house, you know what I mean? That's what we didn't touch on. Like in the middle of all this, not only in the middle of all this, you're going on a bachelorette party, which is money. You are getting married, which is money. You're taking a honeymoon, which is money. You're buying a house, which is money. You have car payments. You have a dog who's old, which is money. You have, you know what I mean? So it's like, where is all this cash coming from? And then the personal health and like the personal accountability for that financial commitment becomes the middle finger. And then that's all you guys that's where a lot of people let that fall, and they just don't even worry about it, you know? So how did you make that work in your personal life?
I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Like, it was hard. So part of a lot of this was there was a lot of invalidation in what was happening. So even like with my husband, for a while, it was like, well, it's probably just this, like, calm down, you know? And so, like, my biggest piece of advice for all of this is, like, just stay true to, like, what you believe. Because if anything, like, you know your body better than anyone. So if you truly believe that there is something going on and it's not just stress, or it's not just whatever that the doctors are telling you, like, push further, find someone who will believe you. Because when this started out, yes, my husband was very much like, I don't know about that. I think you're, like, being a little dramatic. However, bless his soul, he still supports it anyway. Like, he's like, if this is what you want to do, like, I don't think that's what it is, but go ahead. So then when we started out, where I was like, okay, I can't have dairy and I can't have gluten anymore, it was kind of like, okay, well, we're just going to have completely separate meals. And so if I was making dinner, it would be like, okay, well, I'm going to make you this, but then I have to make myself this. So I'd like 4 different pots on the stove for, like, just the 2 of us. It was like the most ridiculous thing ever. So it started off like that. And it was a lot of trial and error. And then I think that what helped was he saw me get better. Honestly, probably the sex life getting better. Probably he was like, oh, there might be something to this. Like, maybe, like, you know.
But that's a very male realization. It's like, hey, this is kind of working out for me, you know?
Yeah,
like what am I getting?
There's some reward to this. Okay, great. Like,
well,
whatever.
It's also like, we're being super candid here, but, like, you know, I know there's like a lot of situations where for me in my relationship where Jen will just look at me and be like, you're a grumpy fuck, you need to get laid, you know? Like, and like, it's true. And I don't know if it's a male thing, a testosterone buildup kind of thing, but, like, it's like a very not PC way to talk about that I've heard circulate around the internet is called cum clarity, where it's like you can't think until after, you know?
Right, yes.
Like, so like you get bogged down with these, like, biological needs, you know? Yeah. And when those needs, and this is really what it boils down to, like, as far as being vulgar or making jokes or whatever, what it boils down to is you have biological needs, and when you're in a relationship and those needs aren't being met, you have no other outlet.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Everything they do is just, like, annoying you.
Yes, but when that part of your relationship is healthy, it's easier for you to, like, I don't know, be normal and, like, deal with your shit. Like, so when that starts to happen, and that starts to get better, it's not even so much just like to make Steve sound like he's like, I'm getting some out of this, you know what I mean? Like that's, you know, it's more so like your processes are starting to get, you start to process better. Things become healthier. Yeah. You're obviously happier and emotionally healthier when that factor of your life is better, you know? So then that emotional well-being leads to you being able to do things like, hey, I want to do something for me. I want to start a woodworking company. And what's the name of his, is it an Instagram that he uses for that? Because the stuff he makes is unbelievable.
Yeah, so we have an Instagram, a Facebook, and we just recently made a website for it. It's called Firehouse Woodworking. So Instagram, firehouse_woodworking. It's Firehouse Woodworking on Facebook or firehousewoodworking.com. We do custom cutting boards. We do signs. Pretty much. And like it's beautiful.
Like his pieces are really, honestly, truly artwork.
Thank you.
Really, really cool stuff. Like the first time you posted something, I thought it was going to be like his starter cutting board. You know what I mean? Yeah. I was like really
his high school craft project.
Yeah, like good job, sweetie. Like remember when they made you cut 1,000 pieces of wood on the 45-degree angle and arrange it into a spiral? Yep. And it's really just you doing this with the miter saw 1,000 times. Like, I was expecting something like that, but no, I mean like two different types of wood, all inlaid with each other, and like checkerboard patterns and different types of patterns with the woodwork. It's like, it's funny because Jen already has a custom made cutting board that somebody made for her.
Oh.
Or I probably would have bought one already. You know, but we already have one in the house. When we buy when we do get our own place, you just, you know, housewarming gift. I'm sorry, you know, had a cough there, but I'm kidding. But yeah, so Firehouse Woodworking, really cool stuff. To plug your husband's work as well. So now you're making it work. You're cooking 4 pots at a time. You're cooking all these different things for him. And how did that culminate?
Yeah, so then I think it was a combination of money. He's very much like, we spent way too much at the supermarket today. Like, you know, that's him. So I think it was a culmination between that. I think he saw the benefits where like, I wasn't being defined by my illness anymore. Like he started to see that I was becoming me again. And then he started having stomach issues where, I think he started to see like, okay, well, what she did kind of worked, and it did make me, I did have to push him a little bit to be like, hey, so like this kind of worked for me. Like if you want to try it out, so like the kombucha thing, I was like, maybe just like try it for like a week and see what happens. And now literally like whenever we go to the supermarket, if I don't buy like 20 bottles of kombucha, because like I have my row in the fridge and he has his row in the fridge, and like if we take from each other's rows, it's like an all-out brawl. He's like, you took my kombucha, like. So I think it was just eventually a molding of the minds, right? Like we had to come together, but it was hard at first. It took a couple of months, but now like we found this really great balance of like meals that I can make that work for me that also like satisfy him as well. Like sheet pan dinners with some rice, or, you know, pasta that's gluten-free, but it actually tastes like real pasta for an Italian guy, you know, like we've really found that happy medium. It took a lot of work. And thankfully, like you said, like he's my exact person. Like I don't think I could have done it with anybody else because, you know, like he was able to kind of just get through the bullshit with me and like understand all of that. And I appreciate that so much. Yeah.
That's a real partner. That's how it's supposed to be, you know? Yeah. That's really awesome that you have that, because there are situations where sometimes it is okay to leave. Sometimes, you know what I mean? Like our lives are growing in different directions, but it's like you need to at least make that attempt and give it the months and months and months to kind of figure things out, or, you know, and make things work. And now, so this journey from start to finish, like let's say that you're at the peak now, you're at the apex of, you know, always improving, but you've come a very, very long way. It's been about 3 years, you said?
Yeah, about 3 years.
And so that's realistic numbers for people that I want them to expect. A lot of people think I walked into the Kung Fu school like one day and like a video game, like, like I like, no, 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 no. I opened the chest and found the thing. And then like suddenly, like He-Man picks up the sword and like, by the power of Grayskull. And next thing you know, he's got pecs. Like, that's not how it works.
Right.
Like, I spent 4 years spinning my gears at the Kung Fu school trying to process all my teacher's information and wondering what wasn't working, and then finding out again, like you, it was my diet. I ended up in the hospital for a couple of months. I had thought I was healthy. I was doing shit like shakes. You know what I mean? And like the typical bodybuilders kind of diet with like, like a bunch of carbs and then a bunch of protein and then not so much fat and then a bunch of carbs and a bunch of protein. So a really interesting factoid, your cells are made of the cell membrane around every single one of your cells is something called a phospholipid bilayer. Lipid is a fat. So you're literally composed of fat. You are composed of fat.
Right.
So when fat is processed in a healthy way, you do well, which is also why like I'm doing so well doing like a keto paleo kind of diet. Like I really don't like to ascribe to any like one particular, but it's more keto than anything else. But it's not like I'm just eating eggs and bacon and nothing else. I eat lots of vegetables and eat fruit. I eat some fruit every day. Not a lot, but like a little bit. I treat it like candy. It's like my treat at the end of the day, like a handful of berries or, I know you with the case of strawberries every day, You have a forklift that backs up to the end of the store and like lets off like a case of strawberries every day. It's not like a gerbil feeder. You're just like, strawberries. So it's like you had said earlier, your dad's spreading the fat on the toast. The problem there is the toast. It's not so much the fat, it's the toast. It's the combination. It's we put these things together that taste really, really good. I'm going to have a burger on a bun with cheese and mayo and soda. So it's like taking buckshot. Of just everything you could possibly load your system with. And none of it is actual nutrients. And you're just blasting your body with it. We were talking about probiotics before. A brand I'm using that you might want to look into because there is a men's and a women's. I'm taking the men's. The men's right now. I gave Jen the women's. I bought one for her, and she's been on that for like 3 weeks now. Update with that. My psoriasis is very clear. It's still there. But whatever I'm doing is working. And over the course of the past few months, I think the depression that I went through was like the last little bit kind of getting chiseled out. You know what I mean? Like, and it kind of triggered something in me that I needed to like sit and deal with and process emotionally. A lot of what was going on. Also, what was happening with the world the past couple of months really affected me on a deep internal level. And I needed to like take a break from everything. Which I never do. You know me, I don't break. But I needed to. I've been very burnt out by the last 3 years of school and grind and getting like black belt. I need to take. But my psoriasis is very much so clearing. Lots of sun exposure as well. And Jen couldn't do hair for the longest time because of eczema in her hands, in between her fingers and her knuckles, cracking and bleeding. So now I've kind of like indoctrinated her into my way. And the company is called Ancient Nutritions. Since she's been on the probiotics, doing more of a keto thing, she has nothing wrong with her hands. Her hands are 100% free and clear, no cracks, no bleeding, no scraping, no redness, maybe a little bit of red between her fingers every now and then when she gets really stressed or something like that. And me, I'm at a point now for people with hope. So for me, it's like 4 or 5 years I've been on this kind of journey of figuring everything out. And now I'm at a point where I can once every couple of months take cheat days and have what I want to have. And then the next day be okay.
Right.
Which is what I want people to have faith. I want them to realize that like you just shared all that. And that was 3 years of you to figure out what to do, how to do it, what to eat, what not to eat, what works for you, how to make it work in your marriage. How to do that while dealing with all the other bullshit you were dealing with, because life is also happening around that. Work is also happening around that. Family is also happening around that, you have to deal with all of these moving pieces all at once and all these talking heads around you telling you which way to believe and what to do. And you really just have to trust your vision and trust yourself and keep moving forward. And there is a light at the end of the tunnel. There is, you don't never have to ever have a slice of pizza ever again for the love of God. But like, you need to give yourself time. You can't cheat on the weekends.
Right.
You can't take Saturday, Sunday off. Your body takes weeks and months to process things. You're in your body for 75 to 100 years. You know, you're in your body for that long. So not everything is going to happen overnight. A cut takes 2 weeks to heal. Yet somehow people think your endocrine system is going to be able to just flip a switch and be able to switch from the things you're putting into it and how it has to process these things. It's a very delicate and intricate machine that we live in. But it's resilience given the proper fuel to fuel its resiliency. It's like the Enterprise with the shields down. You know what I mean? We live with our deflector shields down and wonder why we're getting hurt so much, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I'm amazed that I was able to bounce back the way that I did. I think that was my biggest fear, is like, I wasn't going to be able to bounce back at all. And the funny thing too is, like, my holistic doctor, I had said to them, like, do you think that I'll ever be able to have dairy or gluten ever again? And he was like, well, forever is a long time to not have something. He's like, I can't answer that really for you, but forever is a long time to not have something. So, I mean, you know, what's that thing your body goes through, like, changes every 25 years, every 15 years or something like that?
You have a new body every 7 years.
That's what it is. Yes.
Yeah, you have all your cells are completely regenerated every 7 years.
Right. So, you know, maybe very well in the future, because I've been going along this path, I can have dairy or gluten. But honestly, it's become easier every day. Like, every day it gets a little bit easier to just let go of it. I mean, I pretty much do an autoimmune paleo diet. That's like how I've been able to achieve this. And it's been satisfying enough for me.
Now, describe a little bit of that. You say autoimmune paleo diet. So we haven't actually said the phrase autoimmune yet. And maybe that's doing a little bit of disservice to the 2 hours that we've been talking, because a lot of this is autoimmune problems, and people, like, I'm walking around like people are just, you know, aware of that. So describe what an autoimmune diet looks like for you.
So I did a lot of research on, because originally I was like, well, what if I do have celiac disease, which is considered an autoimmune disease, or like, what if I have some form of autoimmune? So I follow a lot of different, like, health and wellness Instagram pages. I've done a lot of research online. So autoimmune paleo diet is basically focused on inflammation in your body and how that causes your autoimmune system to react. So gluten, for example, if you introduce gluten into your system, and you have an issue with it, your autoimmune system immediately is like, oh my God, we got to go into attack mode, and like, we need to get rid of it. Hence why, if you have a problem with gluten, you're like, within 20 minutes immediately expelling it from your body in very awful ways, stomach problems. And on top of that, considering like what we had spoken about with birth control, my autoimmune system was always on because I had that inserted birth control.
So you, not so much autoimmune, but it's really more parasympathetic versus the sympathetic nervous system.
Yes.
Your sympathetic nervous system is your fight or flight. So you're always in fight mode.
Yes.
Is what you're saying. Right.
Yes.
Okay.
So really my focus was to be like, okay, we need to tell the body that we can calm down now, and like, we're okay. And so a lot of the foods focus on like anti-inflammation. So that means like removing dairy, removing gluten. And what you can do is called the elimination diet. And I think I gave you the book, you might still have it.
The plan, right?
Yes.
I do. It's in a box. I have to give it back to you. I haven't read it.
It's fine. I bought the digital version.
Okay.
Keep it. So basically what you do is you're like a vegetarian for the first 3 days. So you just eat straight up vegetables with like some seasoning on it. They have like some really great recipes, and you restart your digestive system from like day one. And then each day when you have a test day, like the first day you add chicken. Okay, chicken like was fine under certain parameters. Okay, now we can move on. Now we're going to add pork. Okay, pork didn't work for you for whatever reason. So now you know that like pork is an inflammatory food for you, and so on and so forth. And you kind of do that slowly each day. So I started with that, and then finding that out and learning some different recipes. I basically eat like autoimmune paleo now almost all the time.
Yeah.
So
it's about being in the majority. You know what I mean? It's you can't go to the gym once a week. You got to go to the gym a few times a week and then take a couple days off. It's got to be more rather than less. So you can if you're on target 99% of the time, the 1% of the time you can veer off on purpose and then come back and be okay. You don't have to never have fun ever again. You know what I mean? Like my birthday's tomorrow. I'm having cake. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
I'm gonna eat. Well, I don't have cake for my birthday. I'm a weirdo. I have a fruit tart. That's my thing.
Yeah.
But it's not even like a weird hippie thing. It's like my whole life. I just like fruit tart better than everything else with the custard.
Yeah.
You know, the pie crust with the custard and the fruit on top with the gelatin on it. Yeah. Oh, that's my thing. But like I can't have that all the time. I used to have ice cream all the time. I used to have those the strawberry well, let's not say brand names, but you know, the fruit juice, caffeinated fruit juice with tea.
Yeah.
Every day. I would eat with a Trenta of that shit is pre-workout. This was only a couple years ago. And people don't realize how much like, oh, it's just a little bit of sugar. It's not. It's not. It's like
literally all of it.
Yeah, it's like as much sugar as you could possibly have. And then you trigger that insulin response, and that insulin response is like, whoa! And then your body goes back into fight mode.
Yeah.
Sugar and cocaine do the same thing to your brain.
Okay.
Yep. They do the exact same thing to your brain, which is basically take your serotonin and dopamine production and just squeeze the shit out of the glands, and then they're kind of left dried out afterwards, and they take a lot of time to recuperate and recover, which is why you have that crash, which is why you see people that are rebounding from drugs that like have that deep depression because they can't create their happy hormones anymore. And then you have other people who are like, don't fucking talk to me until, which we can very much so relate with. Don't fucking talk to me until I've had my coffee. It's not caffeine. It's the 18 pumps of vanilla. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. That's what they're really craving. It's their fix in the morning. You know what I mean? There's grogginess and like, oh, I need a cup of coffee to wake up. Like that is one thing. But there's like the super irritability. How many of those people are ordering like chocolate or white chocolate or something like that in there? You know what I mean? Yeah. Like they get whipped cream and all that stuff on top of their whatever, and it's their little treat for the day. You know, this is my thing. I'm being nice to me. You're not being nice to you. You're hurting yourself. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yep. It's like, oh, I'm celebrating. I'm gonna do 21 shots at the bar. Like, what are you celebrating? Your hospitalization? You know what I mean? Like, you know, the excess, and we're taught that that's okay because it's, you know, it's fun. It is what it is. But then you have, obviously, you're living a much better life, and now you have taken that to a public forum and been very vocal about how you are, what you're doing, and what you're feeling. Your husband has been affected by it, and it'll trickle down into your family. And if you guys ever have kids, that, you know, that'll be imbued in them from the get-go, and they'll have that leg up to start life in a better way, as opposed to like kids that are just eating, you know, lollipops every day and getting handed you can relate with the kid standing at the pastry case and the mother just being like, "Yeah, whatever you want, honey, just pick out something that you want."
Yep.
So you're like, "Lady, it's 9:30 in the morning. What are you doing? Don't give your kid a brownie." And then complain when he can't focus on his homework. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, so let's say, so what are you up to now? Is there anything that you'd like to promote? Anything that you'd like to get out there? Anything you'd like to say before we conclude?
I think that this whole journey, obviously it's been life-changing, not only for my health, but I think just like my overall outlook on life, my mental being. And if anything, like my new goal now is not only to just share my story to like help people be better in their health, but like just overall in their life. I mean, now like my focus is I want to find a way that like I can do things for me and not have to like work for the man. You know what I mean? Like I want to be able to do my own things. Like, so through my wellness page, through my gaming YouTube channel, like through my husband's business, like that's where all of my energy goes now. And hopefully, ask, believe, receive, right? Like if you put the time in, and now that I have the energy to do that, hopefully that kind of happens now in the future. So if you want to watch some really fun gaming stuff, go to my Lady Game Guy YouTube channel. And if you want to see, like I have different reviews on different products from, health and wellness to food and whatnot, then go to my Instagram page of Christina's Beauty and Wellness. If you need a cutting board, go to my husband's cutting board website, firehousewoodworking.com. Stay true to yourself. And, if you really believe that there's something wrong, just keep going to doctors until they finally believe you, because there will be one. And that's it.
Or find your local acupuncturist or massage therapist that can help you out. Somebody who can kind of guide you and show you the way. Eventually, what I would like to do is come out with a ebook of the self-massage for the acupuncture points, like I was teaching you to do some kind of instructional videos with points and stuff like that. But again, I myself am I need a computer before I can do a lot of the things that I want to do. And I don't see the point in spending, like $1,000 to fix an old computer. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I'm just saving up for the new thing and just trying to promote the episodes right now and get this out there for the next couple of months. And work on that and building the massage business. So guys, please at temple_wellness_ and temple LMT. Those are my two Instagram channels. One is for martial arts. One is for wellness information. And I'll let you follow both and figure out which is which. And then the YouTube channel is Temple Podcast. The YouTube channel is Temple Podcast. The show is Temple Podcast. If you guys want to donate to the show, the Cash App code is $Temple LMT11. Again, the Cash App code is $Temple LMT11. Or you can direct message me and we can figure something out. If you'd like to be interviewed, please direct message me. If you liked this interview, please like, comment, subscribe, and give Christina a follow and her husband a follow on all their awesome stuff. I hope to have you on again. If you ever have anything specific in the future or anything you want to talk about or a topic you want to discuss or just want to come back and shoot the shit again for an hour or two, please feel free. We'll schedule again. All right?
Yeah, and thank you so much, Ed. Really,
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, I had such a good time, like, having this conversation with you and allowing me to share my story. But again, like, I'm glad that you came into my life, like, whether it was through the company that we previously worked for together, like, obviously you were there to kind of guide me into the holistic medicine approach and, massage therapy and all of that. And like, thank you so much. And I am like so proud to see you finally go off into the world and like do what you're doing. And like, just everybody, please, like, this guy knows what he's talking about. So please just watch.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm glad I could help. I don't try to like be a know-it-all. I just love what I do and I love what I talk about. And even in the times in my life where I was still, I still got some chunk, you know, like I was chubby and still smoking cigarettes, you know what I mean? Like I knew that I was on the right path and that I would figure it out eventually, even if the people around me wouldn't stop talking shit. You know what I mean? So you have to be true to yourself, be honest with yourself, and joy comes through personal accountability. So I will leave the episode with that. I'm going to cut the recording now. Thanks, everybody. Don't hang up. I'm just going to cut the recording, okay?
Okay.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a good one. Like, comment, subscribe. We'll see you all later.
5, 4, 3,